implementation, or analysis phase of an impact evaluation, which can potentially affect the accuracy and validity of its results. Okay, so the first methodical challenge is the so-called heterogeneous treatment effect. Studying the of an educational program. The term heterogeneous treatment effects essentially means that different people or subgroups might respond differently to that program. Para siyang, it's like giving a group of people the same type of food. Some people will love it, others might be indifferent, or others might even dislike it. So parang ganun ang concept ng heterogeneous treatment effect. So for instance, halimbawa meron tayong inintroduce na educational program which aims to boost students' performance. So yung initiative na yon might have a different effect or impact sa students who are economically disadvantaged than those who are affluent ones. So kung titingnan lang natin yung impact ng program na yon sa kabuuan, we will risk overlooking the crucial differences between the two groups. So when we say heterogeneous treatment effects, this means we are estimating the impact of the program to the entire group, and the result masks some differences in responses to the treatment among different recipients. Okay? So, paano ba natin i-address ang heterogeneous treatment effect? So, a technique called stratified sampling offers a great solution to this type of methodical challenges. I know we are all familiar naman no, with the so-called stratified sampling. So, we are in stratified sampling, we are dividing a large group into smaller, more specific categories, which we call strata, based of course on certain characteristic. So sa example natin kanina, kunwari nag-introduce tayo ng educational program sa isang school, and our respondents are students coming from high income and low income family backgrounds. Para maiwasan natin yung heterogeneous treatment effect, we have to divide them into two strata. So one strata will be students with or students coming from families with high income, while the other strata are students coming from um, low income families. So this way, makikita natin yung impact ng program natin or ng intervention natin with both types of students. So that is the first method. So again, heterogeneous treatment effects. So the second methodical challenge is the so-called unintended behavioral effects. So under unintended behavioral effects, meron pa tayong apat na category. So when we say unintended behavioral effects, this refers to changes in the behavior of participants in an impact evaluation that are caused by uh, the evaluation itself rather than the program being evaluated. So when we say unintended behavioral effects, these are induced unintended behavioral responses from the population you are studying. So the four types are Hawthorne effect, John Henry effect, anticipation, and substitution. So let us discuss this one by one. So when we say Hawthorne effect, this occurs when participants change their behavior because they are aware that they are being observed. Okay? So kumbaga, parang sa mga teachers, no, tulad natin, medyo madami dito sa atin ng teachers. Every time ino-observe tayo ng ating mga bosses, nag-iiba ang ating performance. We do perform naman every day sa pagtuturo natin, pero every time na may nag-observe sa atin, may it be principal or department head, nag-iba ang performance natin, parang mas nagiging better tayo compare sa usual natin na performance because aware tayo na something is expected from us. So parang ganun ang concept ng Hawthorne effect. So example, in a program aiming to evaluate the impact of a new teaching method on student performance, students may improve their performance simply because they know they are being observed and their efforts are being evaluated, not necessarily due to the new teaching method itself. So ang kumbaga ang attribution natin dito sa outcome ng mga estudyante, hindi lang siya directly attributed doon sa strategy mismo or sa intervention mismo, kundi pati din doon sa behavior ng estudyante. So kumbaga hindi siya purely na ang reason ng maganda or hindi magandang performance nila is the intervention. Kasi sa kanila mismo merong part sa sarili nila na or sa behavior nila na nag-influence doon sa outcome. So that's what we mean when we say Hawthorne effect. So the second type of the unintended behavioral effect is the John Henry effect. So this occurs when participants in the control group work harder to prove that they do not need the program being evaluated. So kanina sa Hawthorne effect, ah yung kumbaga yung nagpapabida-bida, sorry for the term, pero parang gano'n yung ma-associate ko. Yung nagpapabida-bida is nandoon sa treatment effect kasi sila yung ino-observe. So kasi ino-observe sila, ginagalingan nila. So dito naman sa John Henry effect, ang control group naman ang nagwo-work harder para ma-compensate nila or para ma-compensate sila for not being offered in the treatment. So for example, in a similar program doon sa Hawthorne na effect na example natin kanina, if a control group of students knows they are not receiving the new teaching method, they might work harder to prove they can perform just as well without the intervention, thus potentially biasing the results. So dito, ginagalingan ng control group so that they can prove na kahit walang intervention, they can do better. So in this case, mako-compromise ang result ng ating impact evaluation kasi hindi natin makikita actually talaga yung result or yung effect, I mean, or yung impact ng program kasi influence na siya ng behavior ng control group. Okay? So that's what we mean when we say John Henry effect. The next type is anticipation. So when we say anticipation, this is a type of unintended behavioral effects which occurs when participants in the control group change their behavior because they anticipate that they will eventually have access to the program being evaluated. So if, for example, students know that they will soon have access to a new tutoring program, they may start studying harder or participating in more extracurricular activities in anticipation. So of course, this can make it seem like the tutoring program is more effective than it actually is. Pero in reality, nakapag-prepare lang talaga sila kasi they are anticipating nga na they will be a part of the program. So in that case, medyo modify or may bias tayo when it comes to uh, generalizing the result kung hindi tayo aware dito sa anticipation na tinatawag as a challenge in impact evaluation. Okay, so next we have substitution. Okay, so when we say substitution, this occurs when participants in the control group find alternative ways to achieve the same benefits as the participants in the treatment group. Okay, so for example, in a program providing a new online math tutoring service to selected schools, the schools not chosen might start their own school math clubs. So this could lead to similar improvements in math performance, making it difficult to assess the true impact of the online tutoring services. So kaya siya tinawag na substitution because the control group are looking for alternative program na parang pwede siyang itapat doon sa program ng treatment group. So in this case, kung tayo yung evaluator or yung researcher na gumagawa ng impact evaluation about the program, it will be difficult for us to look into the actual impact of the program for the schools piloting the specific intervention na gin-introduce natin. Okay, so again, this examples belongs to unintended behavioral effects. So we have Hawthorne, we have John Henry, anticipation and substitution. So how do we address this unintended behavioral effects? So I have presented the uh, tawag dyan, the ways to address this in a table. So it can be noted no that there is one common approach to this type of methodical challenge, which is the delayed intervention. So when we say delayed intervention, refers to a strategic approach that addresses the pitfalls of unintended behavioral effect. So at its core, this design is characterized by the intentional postponement of the intervention's implementation. So by doing so, the researchers can meticulously measure the baseline outcomes of both the treatment and control groups before any intervention takes place. So sa Hawthorne's effect, uh, blinding the participants and of course delayed intervention design is a good strategy to address Hawthorne effect. So when we say blind the participants, I think it means do not inform them ahead of time kung nabilong ba sila sa treatment group or nabilong ba sila sa control group. So John Henry effect, it also uses delayed intervention, the same with anticipation and substitution effect. Okay? So let us now proceed to the third type of methodical challenge. So imperfect compliance is the third methodical challenges. This one, I believe, ilang beses na natin itong narinig kay Doc Aguilar, no? So what do we really mean when we say imperfect compliance? So when we say imperfect compliance, this occurs when participants in a program do not comply with the requirements of the program or when the participants in the control group are exposed to the program. Okay, so pwedeng yung treatment group hindi siya nag-participate ang mga participants niya or pwedeng yung mga participants na nasa control group na hindi dapat exposed sa intervention, naging exposed sa intervention. So, as displayed on the screen, there are several conditions indicating the presence of imperfect compliance. So, the first here is when not all intended participants participated. So this type of imperfect compliance occur when some people who are eligible to participate in a program do not actually participate. So this can happen for a variety of reasons. So most likely, they are not interested of the program or of the intervention. They lack access or maybe mga unexpected life events. So isa yan sa mga conditions na masasabi nating there is imperfect compliance. Second, we have the selective migration. So when we say selective migration, this occurs when people move in or out of a program or study area. So this can happen for a variety of reasons pa rin, such as people finding better opportunities or wanting to be closer to family and friends. Next, we have eligibility cutoff for the program based on a continuous index is not strictly adhered to. So this type of imperfect compliance occurs when people are admitted to a program even though they do not meet the eligibility criteria. So based on sa discussion ni Sir Nathan last time sa regression discontinuity, no, meron tayong may mga impact evaluations or may may method ng impact evaluation which is the RDD na may gina-consider tayo na cut-off. So people na nakapasok doon sa cut-off will be considered the participants for ano yan? The treatment group, while those below the cut-off are those people na mabilong sa control group. So in this case, magkakaroon ng imperfect compliance kung hindi strictly na-follow ang cut-off. So meaning, may mga hindi nakapasok sa cut-off na nalagay sa treatment group or puwedeng vice versa. Okay? So next, we have the unintended units from the comparison group joined the program. So this type of imperfect compliance occurs when people who are assigned to the control group in an impact evaluation are able to participate in the program. Okay, so hindi siya dapat nandoon sa treatment group pero nandoon siya sa treatment group. Next, we have some intended participants were excluded due to admin lapses, or some units in the comparison group are some intended participants were excluded due to admin lapses. Last na pala. So this type of imperfect compliance occur when people who are eligible to participate in the program are not able to participate due to administrative errors. So the one who is administering the program, kumbaga nagkamali siya to identify those who will be part of the treatment or of the control group. So type pa rin yun ng imperfect compliance. And then we also have some units in the comparison group are mistakenly offered the program. So this type of imperfect compliance occurs when people who are assigned to the control group in an impact evaluation are mistakenly offered the program. So pwede itong mangyari for a variety of reasons such as error in the data or because of the program staff are not aware of participant assignment. So of course, sabi nga nila no, wala namang perfect na study. We always commit error. May mga errors talaga tayong nagagawa when we are doing studies like this. So, if ever nakakommit tayo ng error which is the so-called imperfect compliance, how do we address this one? So one way to address imperfect compliance in impact evaluation is the use of the instrumental variables. So alam naman natin na ang instrumental variable is a variable that is correlated with the treatment assignment but not with the outcome of interest. So this means that the IV can be used to estimate the causal effect of the treatment assignment on the outcome of interest even if there is imperfect compliance. So instrumental variable is the key for imperfect compliance. So the next methodical challenge is the spillover effect. So this one, I believe na narinig na natin ito and na-explain na din siya previously ni Doc Aguilar, what do we mean when we say spillover effect. So spillover is a term used to describe the effect of an intervention on non-participants. So it is a common challenge in impact evaluation excuse me, as it can bias the results of the evaluation. So we have 4 types of spillover effect. We have externalities, we have social interaction, we have context equilibrium, and we have general equilibrium. So what do we mean when we say externalities? So when we say externalities, these are effects that go from treated subjects to untreated ones. For example, in an education setting, externality would be evident if, for example, there is a new school built in a neighborhood. So, of course, this would benefit not only the students who attend the new school, but also the students who attend the existing schools in the neighborhood. This is because the new school may reduce the number of students in the existing schools, which can lead to smaller class sizes and more individualized attention for students. Next, we have the social interaction. So social interaction occurs when treated and untreated individuals interact with each other, and the treated individual's behavior or characteristic influence the untreated individuals. So there is the so-called influence from the treated and the untreated group. So what example of this is for example, saan na ba ako? In an impact evaluation, this means that the intervention can have an effect on people who are not directly participating in the intervention through their interactions with people who are participating in the intervention. Okay. Sige, next we have the context equilibrium. So, context equilibrium effect occurs when the intervention changes the market for goods and services. So, this is an intervention that affects the behavioral or the social norms within the given context, such as the treated, the treated locality. So, for example, if an impact evaluation measures the effect of a new government subsidy for farmers, the subsidy given to the farmers, of course, will lead to increased investment and in the agricultural sector, which would create new jobs and opportunities for people who are not directly participating in the program. So in that case, hindi lang yung naka-receive ng subsidy ang naka-benefit from the program, even yung mga hindi kasali sa program. So this is context equilibrium. So next, we have the general equilibrium. So this in this case, interventions affect the supply and demand for goods or services and thereby change the market price for those services. So these effects can occur when the intervention changes the overall economy, such as by increasing or decreasing demand for goods and services, changing prices, or creating new jobs. So, for example, if a new government policy is implemented that provides financial assistance to low income families, this could lead to increased demand for goods and services, which could drive up prices for everyone. So, if this happens, this would be a negative general equilibrium effect for everyone, including the low income families who are receiving the financial assistance. So, another example of general equilibrium effect is a situation where a new factory is built in town. So, this could lead to increased employment and higher wages for people who live in town. So, this is a positive general equilibrium effect naman. So, however, it could also lead to increased traffic congestion and pollution, where a negative equilibrium effect will be observed. Okay, so how do we address spillover effect? So, I have presented the steps in addressing spillover effect in a tabular form. So the first step here is to design a data collection plan to measure spillover effects. So in this step, we identify the types of spillover effects that are most likely to occur, the populations that are most likely to be affected by the spillover effects, and the best method for collecting the data on spillover effects. Next to that, uh, we are going to collect data on spillover effects. So how do we do this? So we use a variety of methods such as surveys, interviews, focus group, and administrative data. Next, we have to analyze the data on spillover effects. Since na-collect na natin siya, we have to analyze na the data on the spillover. So what do we do here? So we will estimate the magnitude and direction of the spillover effects. And lastly, we have to use our estimation in step 3 to determine or to adjust the results of the impact evaluation. So we will account the spillover effects when estimating the causal effect of the intervention on the treatment group. So meaning, kukunin muna natin yung, kumbaga parang extent ng spillover so that we can estimate the actual impact of the program or intervention. Okay, so the last methodical challenge in impact evaluation is the attrition bias. So when we say attrition bias, this occurs when parts of sample, those vital groups or individuals we are studying disappear over time. So ibig sabihin, there are studies kasi no na for example dito, um, you are conducting a study and or an impact evaluation and your initial participants are 2,500 households. Naging survey mo for your baseline data. Pero after uh, after a while, nung nag-survey ka na ulit, ang ma-access mo na lang or ang ma-reach out mo na lang are 2,300 na lang. So ah, meron kang tawag siya, attrition value or meron kang 200 na nawala doon sa respondents mo. So if this is the case, siyempre mako-compromise ang result natin kung i-disregard lang natin ah, yung kumbaga attrition rate natin. So how do we address attrition? Okay, so of course, we have to check whether the baseline characteristic of units that have dropped out of the sample are statistically equal to the baseline characteristics of the units that we are um, successfully surveyed. So always check if those who dropped out of your study had similar characteristics or starting points as those who remained. So this will ensure na the ones leaving are not significantly different. Kasi pag significantly different sila, it would alter the outcome. So after that, you have to check whether the attrition rate in the treatment group is similar to the attrition rate in the comparison group. So if the attrition rates are statistically significant, then there is a concern that your sample is no longer valid and you may need to use various statistical techniques to correct this. Okay, so to sum up the concepts of the methods or the methodical challenges in impact evaluation and the ways to address, so I have made a table here to highlight the main points. So we have 5 methodical challenges. We have the heterogeneous treatment effects, we have the unintended behavioral effects, we have the imperfect compliance, spillover, and attrition bias. So, heterogeneous treatment effects, this refers to the variability in how different units respond to a treatment or intervention. The way to address is to use subgroup analysis or yung stratified sampling. Unintended behavioral effects, this refers to unexpected changes in behavior due to awareness of being observed or because of the treatment itself. So how do we address this? Implement double-blind trials and yung delay intervention design. Third, we have imperfect compliance. So this means that when some units do not receive or adhere to the intended treatment, possibly affecting the overall evaluation. So we have to use intention to treat analysis to include all participants regardless of compliance and of course the instrumental variable approach. Next, we have spillovers, the indirect effects of non-treated units because of proximity or interaction with treated units. So how do we address this? We have to collect data on spillover effects. And lastly, we have the attrition bias when some units drop out or are no longer available for follow-up, potentially leading to biased results. So, how to address? We have to monitor and compare the baseline characteristics of those who dropped and those who stayed in the program. Okay? Sige, so I have identified here sample case scenario para may participation naman po ang classmates ko. Ayan. So, meron akong dalawang scenario dito. So the first is during the COVID-19 pandemic, the Social Amelioration Program or the SAP provided financial aid to families. But upon observation, urban households reported different outcomes compared to rural households despite receiving the same amount of support. So, meron po bang pwedeng maka-identify kung anong klaseng methodical challenge ito? Hello, classmates? Sige. So, this scenario is
Yung
an
number one.
yes po.
Yung first na ano, yung first na challenge na iba-iba ang effect sa isang program to
Yes po.
different to different people. So pag ganito naman, pwedeng ang gagamitin natin is yung um, difference in differences or matching. Meaning hindi natin i-compare ang mayaman sa mahirap or ang rural sa urban. 'Di ba kasi pag nag-matching tayo, ang treatment o ang comparison group, dapat same characteristics man sila. So definitely kung rural and urban, dili na to siya pwede i-compare. So we can use matching. Una, siguro to address this effect is or this methodical challenge is uh, anong gagamitin natin na evaluation method? So, pwede tayong mag-matching. Ibig sabihin, hindi natin paghaluin yung rural and urban, no? Kasi iba talaga magiging effect. Number one, mahal ang pagkain sa urban areas, while sa rural areas, mas mura siya, plus they can grow their own food. Like, ano, 'di ba? So, iba talaga magiging effect. So, pwede tayong mag-matching to address that ano and by the to address that concern. And by the way 'no, kapag gumagamit tayo ng statistical ano gyud method, as much as possible, we use probability sampling jud. Dili as much as possible ang kanang non-probability sampling or purposive sampling, pwede mo lang yung siyang gamitin kapag qualitative. Pero pag quanti, especially if we will be using parametric tests, ah ang ano gyud i-randomize gyud nato ang kuan pagpili sa samples or sa ano responded sa research. By the way, tinanong nila ako bakit daw ang exam ko di daw nako sila di daw ta mo ipa-compute. An ako sayon ra magud ang computation ani. Ang importante is di ba? We learn these challenges, the methods para alam natin paano i-address kapag na-experience natin itong mga, for example, itong mga challenges. Kasi madaling mag-stat madaling ano 'di ba, mag SPSS and sa impact evaluation kasi hindi necessary na yung mga test of significant difference for example. Kasi usually sa policy meron na yung target, 'di ba? Kagaya nung sa Progressa na an impact of at least $20. Pag nakuha nila yon, they will further the program. So, meron na kasi siyang na-set na standard. Ganun dapat kasi ang program. So, the very reason as well na mas gusto ko mag-focus tayo sa concept na maintindihan natin siya, not sa computation kasi madali lamang yung computation. Good. And you've been, di ba, meron kayong mga subjects ng statistics, tama? Meron kayong mga data analytics. So, alam nyo na to. Alam nyo mag-test ng difference. Alam nyo mag-run ng data sa SPSS. So, most importantly, maintindihan natin yung itong mga concerns. Kasi sa Pilipinas, nagstoya kay Minister Bulgarin while you're taking the exam, ano siya, applicable ba ni sa Pilipinas? Kay, kung tanaw na itong mudagdaghan, makay issue, no? Sa Philippine scenario ba? So anyway, going back, so ganun, pwede natin gamitan ito ng matching, so we won't be comparing rural and urban, but matching would tell us na dapat rural din yung kamatch niya sa comparison group. Tapos pag urban naman, urban household din ang i-compare natin sa kanya. Hindi pwedeng i-compare yung rural sa urban kasi iba talaga, merong mga factors just like price. And yun nga yung opportunity ng rural to produce their own food. Sa urban kay wala may yuta, wala may matamnan, so lahi gyud no magsaligid sila sa ayuda. Sa rural na pag yun na sila yung mga They can grow mga animals that they can mga farm animals that they can consume, 'di ba? Sa urban hindi ka makaka-grow eh. So iba talaga. Sige. Sunod. Okay lang ba ta? Are you still there, everyone? So, ako concern ko talaga no, not so much on kana bitong aside from you pass the compre, kanang unta ma-apply na to bitaw when you will be, of course, you are working and you are implementing different programs in your organization. So, I hope we can apply our learnings kay tingin ko kasi the very reason na sa dami ng programa ng Pilipinas, 'di ba? Kung ano-ano ng mga program, especially poverty alleviation, pero parang wala pa ring nangyari, no? Malamang baka hindi na-evaluate ng tama. Tapos yung overestimate yung impact. Pero hindi pala yung real impact niya kasi nga because of mga different challenges. So it's possible. Sige. O anybody? Na by mga other ideas pod? How can we address? Sige, go ahead, Emily. Hindi man sila maningog.
Sige, okay.
Andiyan
So,
ba kayo? Sige, go ahead. Hello,
Sige, so
andiyan ba kayo?
Another scenario is in evaluating the impact of a school feeding program, a notable complication was observed. Instead of solely consuming their allocated meals, several recipient students were sharing their food with their classmates, unintentionally blurring the lines between the intended program recipients and the designated comparison group, potentially skewing the outcome measures. So this is an example of social interaction spillover. So, ang nilagay ko dito, Doc, na ways to address is to employ a two-stage cluster randomization at the classroom level, ensuring entire clusters either receive or don't receive the intervention.
Sa feeding, no, ang maka-receive lang man ani kay katong mga below the normal range ang weight.
BMI, Doc.
Or tanan siya, body mass index, parang below the normal.
Naa siya'y Doc, naa siya'y parang cut-off din na BMI.
So, yung iba, hindi talaga siya subject to feeding.
Yes po, gina-select lang, Doc, those students na may mababang BMI, yun lang ang pagkakaalam ko ang gina-subject nila for feeding program.
So pwede namang, kaya lang lahat ng schools may feeding program, no? Kasi kung ganito, spillover, pwede tayong mamili ng
schools na wala
controlled group na group of kids or students na hindi nakaka-receive ng walang feeding program. Pero sa DepEd, wala talagang school na walang feeding program, no?
Hindi man lahat nag-feeding program, Doc?
Ay, so meron ding wala?
Meron ding wala po.
So pwedeng yung mga walang feeding program, pwede nating gawing comparison group. Yun. But of course, we will use, I believe we should use matching kay una, tingnan natin yung income din ng parents. So, sa mga walay feeding program, pasabot ba mga dato na? Di ba po siguro, no? Kay
BMI man ang kuan.
BMI, regardless of galing sila sa kanang unsa ba, below poverty line o hindi?
Yes.
So, pwede nating i-comparison group yun. Pero we consider mga family profile para yes. Si Joanne, you're raising your hand. Go ahead.
Doc, question ko lang, etong mga programs ba na ito is really conducted just to determine if may impact ba ang isang intervention? So, yun lagi yung naiisip ko, or if it would be the government, parang gumawa lang sila for the purpose of it kasi nga programa, but nasabi ko nga sa mga sharing and even doon sa mga sagot ko na I do not really know if pag ginagawa ito, it's because we really would want to parang check whether or not merong relationship between yung intervention na ginagawa to improve yung current process. So ito po yung while we are discussing ba na ganun ba talaga yung ginagawa natin, merong mga intervention to validate if this program really is causing any effect or change in the current parang processes para mag-improve yung delivery of services. So yun po Doc yung nasa isip ko lang na talaga bang ito yung intended niya na naging impact evaluation para mag-improve yung current process. Salamat po.
Yeah, actually, ang evaluation, even kung kanang individual performance evaluation nato. By the way, kani mga mga program performance evaluations man ni sila. Kanang outcome evaluation, effectiveness evaluation, and this impact evaluation. So, mga kuan ni siya no, we evaluate the performance of a program or programs, and in any organization we also evaluate performance of people. So program, people, organization, di ba? I-evaluate nato ang mga performances no. So ang performance evaluation duha gid na ihang purpose, administrative and developmental. Kaya lang murag sa I don't know, pero moment na ako mga nabasa gud ng mga issue sa libro nga kanang pag ganyan magutang evaluation, lagi siya tendency na dapat gwapo ni murag ana ba kay murag para sa tua kung negative siya murag na-focus maguta kung ma-negative ni i-terminate ni. So dili ni dapat ma-terminate. Ana magud atong focus no, pero the point is not terminating the program. The point is ensuring na hindi tayo nagsasayang ng pera, that we are funding programs that will matter especially to the poor. It's more of the developmental value of whatever evaluation ang medyo hindi masyadong naiintindihan. Kasi ang tendency, di ba, even sa DepEd na di man sa igon nga di ka magigog low school or mababang paaralan. So, kanang sa mga exams, kinahanglan gyud tagaag answer ang mga bata para mo gawas nga mataas yung
ang performance sa school.
Achievement test, tapos even katong mga dropout sa grade 5, pulihan siya, grade 6, pulihan siya mga bright na estudyante sa grade 5 para sila mutik. And then, I remember nga sabi ko sa inyo, my name was Vilma Moncada. So, di ko nga kilala si Vilma Moncada kasi malaki din yung school na where I had my grade school kay man siya central school man. So ang central school dako man na, di ba? So wa jud ko kaila kay Vilma Moncada, pero wa pud ko kasabot ato sa una, but it happens. Ngayon ko lang din na no. So but it really happens no, siguro kayo may mga experiences kayo ng ganyan. Kasi mas focus kasi tayo doon sa bonus, doon sa hindi natin naintindihan ba na supposedly this is for developmental purpose as well para ma-improve natin yung programa. Kaya nga kung ako siguro ang powerful, i-ano ko yung bonus, parang i-amend ko yung PBB na provisions para ma-focus ba tayo sa developmental value ng performance at hindi na doon sa, 'di ba? Whether we like it or not, even sa USEP, no? Focus na dira sa PBB, 'di ba? Kanang mo na atong na makafocus sa PBB. Pero actually, for example, ang USEP, why are we conducting extension, research kay naman kita sa tunggol and mandates as well kay fourfold function man ang university. So, dili murag, but it is our mandate to produce highly competitive graduates, globally competitive graduates, and as well help communities nga kung sa itong expertise na meron kami share sa community para, di ba, to transform, di ba, sa itong BMGO, no, transforming lives in the ASEAN and beyond. So gusto na mo economically empowering extension services, di ba, mabasa ninyo sa website, sa ang syllabus, and as a matter of format nilalagay kasi ang BMGO. Pero sa totoo lang din, even kami, we're also guilty, no, nga, parang ipakita yun nga, nag-matter ang extension, pero sa tinuod lang, even our extension, dili po siya ingon nga, ni matter yun sa community. Karang, pag na-summit, we will, them to produce katong products na itudlo na mo sa ilaan na niya. Pero kung wala summit, wala mapod kay wa man sila gi-monitor kung okay ba gyud ni ba gyud ilang kinabuhi na ni improve ba, so ba. Yun siguro. So, evaluation is necessary gid siya, no, for um, administrative and developmental purposes. So, most importantly, dapat focus tayo doon sa developmental. Anyway, ang civil service, dili man po, di ba, kung napansin natin, di ba, di man siya termination, napag coaching and mentoring. So, di ba, if within unsa tawagan na, rating periods, you perform below what is expected, di ba na may coaching and mentoring, na may mga chances, di man gyud siya termination actually. So kung titignan natin, ang concern is developmental. Pero yun. So
Wala
I
wala
hope
gid siya wala siya nagamit gyud ma'am ba nga
hindi siya
for the purpose ba nga mo improve ba siya ba kay murag gi-facilitate lang siya because trend or murag mo ginahimo, pero kanang religious bitaw nga i-analyze siya and then i-check ang mga kuan o like let's say performance evaluation, murag di gid ako di na ako gid ma-feel ba even in its different projects marang makaingon ko no nga kailangan importante man gid gud siya kay katong termini mo ginastorya nga very limited ang ato ang budget, and yet di ta ka pinpoint kung unsa nga program ang pinaka-effective nato buhaton despite daghan na kaayo nga mga programs ang ato ang mga gipang implement, and yet pare-pareho ra gihapon siya og ganang results or outputs. Feeling lang nako ba nga murag ingana gid kinahanglan gid seryosohon ba siya ba kay murag kung para sa ako apod murag mo na ni siya ang feedback mechanism ba nga like what you did mo na ni siya ang nahimong result. So in some point kinahanglan mo change pud ta sa kaning aspect in our implementation because it's not effective based on the results ato ang impact evaluation. So very importante kay siya yet neglected. Mo lang na siya ang ako ang nakita ba nga dapat buhaton good ni siya nga kanang religiously.
Hindi yung no. Pero na-experience ko kasi, matagal na rin ako sa USEP, marami na rin ako na-experience sa mga commissioned researches, evaluation studies na ma-involve, although dili ko lead, pero part mga study leaders, for example, mugawas nga dili satisfied or pangit ba ang evaluation, dili sila sa program. Mag-conference dayon, tapos usbon jud tong tinuod nga result kay ipagawas gyud nga. I think that's a problem, ipagawas gyud nga okay siya.
Sanitation ma'am, ginasanitize.
Sanitation murag na kagaw no nga imong limpyuhan. So ana gyud ang reality. But actually, as a matter of policy, the government is implementing the so-called zero-based budgeting system. So in zero-based, even mga multi-year programs nga supposedly na siya continuing appropriation from year 1 up to the end of the kung pila na ka years ang program. Gina-evaluate gyapon na siya annually. Pero yun nga pinapalabas din na okay, so tuloy, parang ganun ba? So yeah, sa dami ng programa, we're spreading the butter too thinly. 'Di ba kanang ginaingon sa English, mga idiomatic expression ba na kanang spreading the butter too thinly ba na daghan kayo pitchy na parang lang, kuhit-kuhit lang, and mga programs na parang aksayan ng pera kasi hindi naman nagma-matter sa poverty alleviation. So ana magudanta no katong program na i-priority nato na i-expand nato katug yung ni matter unta. Actually, strict usually kapag ang evaluation pag NGO ang naga-conduct, tapos ilahang mga program kay bantay pare man pud ng mga funding institutions. So mahadlok man sila na dili na pud ituloy ang funding. Pero sa government murag kaya nga 'di ba we are here, hopefully kamo man gyud ang maka nasa field, so you can at least di man necessary nga i-influence yun nato ang whole Philippines, maski sa good sa level sa inyong organization. Ang importante din nga ni-improve, for example sa DepEd, ni-improve gyud ang ang quality sa mga products sa public schools, because sad to say, especially mga rural kanang nagani uban di gyud kabasa pa maabot ng college. I mean, 'di ba? One half minus one half. Dili siya ka-gets kay kanang 1/2 minus 1/2 0 daw. 'Di ba? So yun. siguro sana maano no, maano natin ito, ma-improve natin yung evaluation. Tsaka sana wala na yung mga sanitation. Anyway, purpose naman natin is para ma-improve.
Yes.
Kaya lang, walang bonus.
Correct ba? Murag giilad ba nato ato ang kaugalingon, Dok?
Dapat kasi hindi na lang ganyan yung bonus na system, no? Parang,
Tanan man gyapon makakuha. Ay, nako.
wala na lang untay ingon ana good, no? Kana na lang ano ba? Kanang bonus bitaw nga murag 13th month pay na everybody can receive. Ana ba? Para walay ano. Pero manggod pud if dili pud siya himuon nga condition to ang performance is condition to giving of bonuses, basig di na pud mo perform. Or baka pwedeng gayahin natin yung sistema ng private sector na kasi may policy naman talaga ang civil service din, di ba? Na, ba? Accountability, tapos pag nag-fail ka, coaching and mentoring, fail ka na naman ulit, coaching and mentoring, pero hindi forever ang coaching and mentoring. After all the interventions, wala pa rin nangyari sa'yo, ganun ka pa rin. Di ba, you can be terminated after pila ba to ka unsatisfactory performance? Para may limit ba? Para magkaroon talaga ng drive to improve.
Wag yung nga na, Dok. Kung imo halaging i-evaluate good, mas daghan pa dapat ang mga wala.
Yeah.
Kaysa nag-perform sa tinuod lang.
Okay.
Grabe.
Kaya
no?
nga ano, I mean, ang kaning situation sa Philippines, we cannot blame our leaders alone. This is a failure of the state and part sa failure, di ba? So since part sa failure, part punta sa pwede maka-help to address the problem. So yun. So sana maano nyo, kahit sa mga community ninyo ng mga community level ninyo ng mga projects. Sige, so shall we proceed?
Okay. Sige, actually, Doc, this is my last slide.
Okay. So we're done with methodical.
So this is my ano na lang siguro, Doc, parang challenge or mga words of wisdom na lang for my classmates. So each methodical challenge faced in impact evaluation is but a stepping stone leading us closer to the truth and away from assumption. So everything that we have shared today, especially yung mga na-share ni Ma'am Joanne, siguro my realization is that it's a call for us, no, as ang mga future impact evaluators sa ating mga institution na let's always adhere for what is true. Kung ano yung result ng impact evaluation natin, let's always adhere to that kasi it's for the development and improvement of our institution. So, yan lang.
Focus tayo dun sa improvement sana, no? Hindi sa bonus.
Yes
So
po.
if we fail, then we find ways, di ba? Parang BDO, find ways to improve. Kana siguro po ang i-focus sa civil service, no, na kana bang i-inculcate sa mga tao ang kanang developmental value of evaluations na it's not just for the bonus. Sige, so shall we proceed with the next presenter? Ilang presenters na nga lang na bilin?
Prepare ko lang po, Doc.
Ano daw?
Prepare niya lang daw po, Doc.
Okay, sige.
I think after ni Kevin, Doc, 4 pa po kami. Ay, tama ba? Si
Kaya pa, no? November pa naman, so...
Medel, ako, tapos si Ma'am Marichelle, and yung isa pa po. 4 po kami.
Sige, so kaya pa naman natin i-target na matapos tayo November so that the December you will be focusing on your evaluation proposal na. By the way, ang evaluation proposal is not necessarily for mga projects nga done na, even proposed projects. Kasi dapat ang evaluation proposal appeal man na sa project proposal kaysa log frame, di ba, na naman itong mga indicators. So, actually, dapat, mura ba siya, di ba, kagaya ng sabi ko sa inyo, para siyang klase lang na sa start pa lang ng semester, may syllabus ka, meron na rin yung mga TOS and exams na base mo doon sa syllabus, mga topics na nasa syllabus. So, ang evaluation is part of the project planning yun. So, you can make an evaluation tool for a proposed project or an evaluation proposal for a proposed project. Not necessarily katong project na done na. But if kanang actual na nakandak, maybe kung mag-thesis mo, so syempre kato na gyud tong kanang conducted na gyud no, and then been implemented for mga 3 to 5 years. Ideally 3 to 5 years, pwede na tayo mag impact evaluation. So for now, proposal lang ta. Sige. Sino na nga next natin? Si
Sir
Makita na po
Kevin
ba
daw.
yung slide daw?
okay, si Artil. Hindi pa.
Hindi po.
Sige daw, mag-share ka ng screen.
Wait lang. Ulitin ko lang po, Dok. Makita na po ba, Dok?
Yeah, presenting. Meron na. Yes, kita na. Sige, go ahead.
Okay. Good morning, classmates.
Morning.
Morning. Okay, to start, evaluating multifaceted programs is a critical process for assessing the performance and impact of complex initiatives that involve multiple components, objectives, and stakeholders. It involves the systematic collection and analysis of data to gauge the effectiveness, efficiency, and overall success of these programs. Such evaluations are essential for informed decision making as they provide valuable insights into the strengths and weaknesses of multifaceted initiatives, helping organizations and policymakers refine their strategies and allocate their resources more effectively to achieve their intended goals. I am Kevin A. Senartil, a student from Doctor of Philosophy, major in Development Research Administration, and I will be presenting to you the topic about evaluating multifaceted program.
Hindi siya mag-move.
Nag-move na po ba, Doc?
Hindi siya nag-move.
How about
Is
this one?
slideshow. Hindi pa rin.
Hindi pa.
Nakasabit ka man sa no? Ito yung sinubmit mo dito sa UVE. Pwede namang ako na lang mag-present ng PowerPoint. Mo.
Sige, yes po, Doc.
Yan yung sinubmit mo rin talaga dito, no?
May ano kasi siya, Doc. Animation, kaya siguro
Oo.
medyo lag.
Pero exact the same itong nandito sa UVE na in-upload mo.
Parang may minor changes ako. Try ko dito sa isang laptop ko, Doc, for a while.
Sige. Or pwede mo namang isend sa akin